Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. So today I'm going to be sharing a new gouache brush collection with you. This has been put together by Emma Block. She's a UK based illustrator and the manufacturers are Pro Arte. Now Pro Arte are based in the UK as well, and I've used their brushes for about 20 years now, so I already know that I love their brushes. And I was very excited when I heard that Emma was bringing out a collection especially for gouache. So Emma works in gouache a lot herself. I know that a lot of you who watch this channel are gouache painters, so I hope you're going to find this interesting. There are 5 brushes in this collection. So you get 3 round brushes, a number 2, a 4 and a 5, and you get a filbert and an angled brush. So I hope that throughout this video I'm going to share with you what these brushes can do. We'll be using the Etcher Perfect Sketchbook. That's literally what it's called, the Perfect Sketchbook. And I have to say, it is pretty perfect. It has really thick, slightly off-white, 100% cotton watercolour paper. So this is one of my favourite surfaces to work on. It even has those gorgeous torn edges. The palette I'll be using is this tiny travel palette that was sent to me by Rose Wildsmith last year. I think I made a video about this in the autumn where I filled it with different gouache colours, but I really like it. It's a stackable palette, as you can see here, so it's great for taking with you on location, but these colours are going to be perfect for what I want to paint today. I recently visited Virginia Woolf's country retreat called Monk's House in Sussex. So this house is now in the care of the National Trust, but the interior style really inspired me. This and the Charleston House in Sussex, they both have this amazing hand-painted furniture. They have patterned ceramics, hand-painted lampshades. You can see as I'm flicking through the books here the kind of style I mean. And so I thought it would be fun to actually try painting some of these patterns. So just have fun painting loosely in gouache, seeing what these brushes can do, and being inspired by the patterns of both Charleston and Monk's House. So I thought I'd start with the smallest brush in the collection, which is the number 2 round. And I found that I could get a really fine line with this. The great thing about these brushes is that they have such fine points. And even though this isn't as small as the detail brushes I would normally use, I tend to use a 3-0 or a 4-0. I'm actually learning that maybe I don't need to go that small, because depending on how you hold the brush, you can get a very, very fine line, or a thicker line, actually. I should just mention that because the rust colour that I just painted there was with the same brush but held at a slightly different angle. So you can get a very fine line with this, or you can make a thicker line. For these blue teardrop shapes, I'm actually using the filbert because it seemed like it would be the perfect shape brush for something like that. And it holds a lot of water and a lot of pigment, so it's great if you want a really nice, juicy, bold brush stroke. So this pattern was actually based on the design of the lampshade in Virginia Woolf's bedroom. And here I am just adding a little bit of hand lettering because I couldn't resist. And I wanted to test to see how well I could do hand lettering with this number 2 brush. And actually, it was great for lettering. Now, my lettering is very wonky. I'm trying to basically embrace the wonkiness, especially in my sketchbooks. But I just want to let you know, actually, because maybe this is inspiring to those of you who've always been a bit intimidated to try hand lettering. I always felt that I couldn't do it because if it wasn't perfect, then it was going to look wrong and I would just be disappointed with the outcome. When I decided to embrace the qualities of hand lettering, that it will be wonky and that it will have character, I'm actually having so much more fun allowing myself to just enjoy experimenting with it. So yeah, it isn't perfect, but this is a sketchbook. And the great thing actually about all of the furniture, the painted furniture and the ceramics in both Monk's House and Charleston, is that perfection isn't the goal. I love the way they paint very loosely and they leave all of the little flaws and quirks in the design. So that's what I'm trying to embrace here. So this time I'm using Emma's most used brush, I think I'm right in saying that, which is the size 4 round. Now this is a really versatile brush because the point is so fine, you can get a very fine line, but you can also use it for much bolder lines as well. It holds a lot of water and a lot of pigment for quite a small brush. So I was really impressed with this one, and I think it's likely to become one of my most used as well. So I'm painting a design that I saw in Virginia Woolf's bedroom again, and this was the painted tiles around the fireplace. These were painted by her sister, Vanessa Bell, and she'd done an amazing design actually, which I don't recreate in this video, but it was a little vignette of St Ives in Cornwall, where they used to take childhood holidays. So it had a lot of happy memories for both Vanessa and Virginia. And so I thought that was really sweet. But I loved the patterns as well around the outside of the fireplace. And so, yeah, that's what I'm recreating here. So this is all done with the number 4 brush. And then I thought I'd add some hand lettering again. I think this is even wonkier than the first one. But this is with the number 2 brush. Okay, so now we're moving on to a slightly bolder design. This one was around the fireplace in Clive Bell's study in Charleston House. And this called for, I think, a slightly bigger brush. So I went for the number 5 round. And I was really impressed with how much pigment and water this brush can hold. It felt really nice to work with. I love it when you get a really juicy brush. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's perfect for something that's a bit bolder like this. I love the colours in this design, and I had a lot of fun painting this one. This has really inspired me actually to have a go at making some of my own patterns. So this is something that I think I'm going to be experimenting with over the next few weeks, just seeing what I can come up with now that I've been inspired by these designs at Monk's House and Charleston. So I just used the number 5 brush throughout for this one because it seemed to work really well. I could get quite a fine point on it again, so I could do the edges really nicely, and if I needed it to hold more paint and hold more water, it was great for that too. So I think again this is a really versatile brush. There's something really satisfying about adding all of these little dots as well. It's interesting actually how when I put this palette together that I wasn't even really aware of Monk's House. I knew about Charleston, but I hadn't really researched it in depth, and so I didn't put this colour palette together thinking that it was a sort of, I guess, Bloomsbury set kind of colour palette, but it really is. And so, yeah, I'm going to be using this a lot more, I think, in the upcoming weeks because I really love this colour palette in general. So here I'm writing with the number 2 brush again, so that's the smallest brush. This pattern was inspired by a ceramic lamp base in the garden room at Charleston. So this called for a brush that I could be a little bit looser with, and I thought the filbert would be great for this because I wanted some really bold brush strokes. And as you can see, it works really well for that. I do love this brush. I've always loved a filbert brush. I tend to use them a lot for acrylic painting rather than anything else, but I'm definitely going to be using this one for my gouache painting. I'm wondering how these brushes would perform with watercolour. I'm imagining that as gouache and watercolour are fairly similar, they'll probably be great for watercolour as well. I know that they're based on the Proline brushes, which I tend to use for watercolour a lot, so I'm going to give these a go with watercolour as well. So I'm using the number 2 brush here again, just to do the hand lettering. I'm still fighting against my perfectionist streak, by the way. I know I mentioned about the writing earlier, and I'm trying to embrace the wonkiness, but I still feel like I could have done this writing so much better than I have in this video. But when the camera is on and you're doing it kind of in a less pre-planned kind of way, you just have to go with it. And I would like to have a little bit more time actually to practice hand lettering with this brush because I think it's going to be great for that. So yeah, I'll have to keep you informed of my progress. Maybe we'll have to make another video where I just take a little bit more time, as this was just a quick demonstration. So for the final design, I actually decided to use the angled brush, which we haven't used yet. And I did wonder as I was going through this, what am I going to use the angled brush for? Well, it's great if you want a really sharp edge and you want to get into a very tiny corner, if that makes sense. So when I add the triangles to this design, I found it really useful for that, for getting a really nice sharp point and a crisp edge. I think, in all honesty, that this brush is probably the one that I would use the least in my work, just because I feel like I can achieve most of what I want to achieve with round brushes and a filbert brush. I also really like to have a flat brush. That's the other one that I would use when I'm working. So it was interesting for me to use something that I wouldn't normally use. But yeah, it was brilliant for this particular design. So adding the circles here, I went back to using the filbert brush because I wanted something that was a little bit softer and would hold a lot of paint. And then for the rust section, I go back to using the angled brush again. And thinking about it, this angled brush would be really great for line work, because I feel like you could get a really fat line with it or a really thin line depending on how you hold it. Because of the width of the angled brush, you could also use it to block in large areas of colour. For these circles, I went back to using Emma's most used brush, which is the number 4, and I think that one is truly the most versatile brush. So just to end, I added some lettering with the number 2 brush, the smallest one. After I'd finished filming this video, I decided that the page looked a little bit bare still, so I just went a bit crazy with the patterning and added lots of extra bits and pieces here and there, a bit of extra lettering, and I actually accidentally smudged the design in the bottom left corner, which is why you can see that I've tried to cover it up. But we don't worry about that, it's just a sketchbook. As I always say, they're for experiments. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, could you please give it a thumbs up, because it helps it to reach more people. I also have a Patreon, so if you want to check that out, I will leave the link in the description below. And if you watched to the end, leave a comment that says Virginia Woolf, and I will know that you were one of the people who watched to the very end. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. I will see you again soon, and take care for now.